The next few sessions are all related to our theme of how precision, regenerative, and indoor agriculture will shape the future. To lead us off in this conversation, we have with us Dr. Andrew Maynard. Dr. Maynard is a scientist, author, communicator, and widely recognized thought leader in emerging technologies and the future. He is based at the renowned School of the Future for Innovation in Society at Arizona State University. His professional credits are far too extensive to give them any justice here. Suffice to say that one of his very respected colleagues at ASU wrote to me when he found out that we had convinced Dr. Maynard to join us today. And he said this: "John, I see that you've invited Andrew Maynard to the AGS gathering in November. I judge him to be one of the brightest stars in the galaxy of those futurists who meld society with technology. I don't know if you have anything else planned for him, but everyone here wants to attach themselves to him as much as possible." Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Andrew Maynard.
Thank you so much for that. I wish I knew who said that. They were making it up, I'm convinced, but I've got to track them down now. This is such a pleasure to be here, and it's even more of a pleasure to be following James with that fantastic presentation about disruption in innovation. And a lot of what I have got to say feeds in exactly to that. But initially, it's going to feel as if we're taking a slightly different tack, because I was asked to talk about a 1973 Charlton Heston movie, Soylent Green. Now, some of you may remember this. Actually, hands up, those of you who remember Soylent Green. Actually, that's a good number of you. So you'll remember that this was a totally dystopic movie that came out in the 1970s, where the storyline was, this was a future where everything had gone to pot. We had corporate greed decimating the planet. Overpopulation was just destroying everything. Food systems had collapsed. In fact, the only food available to most people was this really unappetizing dry wafer made by this company, Soylent. And then the company came out with a better product, Soylent Green. Everybody was clamoring after Soylent Green until they discovered what it was made of. And those of you that remember the movie, spoiler alert, there are going to be lots of spoilers here. It ends with Charlton Heston saying, "The oceans are dying. Plankton is dying. It's people. Soylent Green is people." It projected a future where things had got so bad that we were recycling people. This was the future of food. Well, of course, I hope this isn't the future of food. And of course, Soylent Green was just entertainment. So why am I talking about Soylent Green? Well, for three reasons. One is, obviously, we're here to talk about the future of food, and Soylent Green is about a future of food. Secondly, and intriguingly, in that movie, it was actually set in 2022. So we're here now, and unless somebody has not told me something, we are not actually eating people, which is a good thing. But the third reason I was asked to talk about this was, this is a movie that I really dislike. I actually, in the many things I do, I actually teach about technology innovation through science fiction movies. And I do not use Soylent because it really winds me up, to the extent that I actually wrote an article a few months ago about why I really dislike this movie. And I'm pretty sure that that helped get me a ticket here. Okay, that said, it's actually a really useful movie to start a conversation around what it gets wrong and what we can possibly get right as we think about the future of food. And so much of this is going to tie into what James was saying previously. Having said that, I actually want to take you on a total and utter detour. So now I've introduced Soylent Green, we're now going to change tack entirely and talk about a physics problem, the three-body problem, which I'm sure some of you have come across. Hopefully the connection will be obvious in a minute. So for those of you that need a little bit of a reminder, and I should say here as well, when I was asked to talk, I was told, have some great pictures up there, have images, make this light, make it easy. And I ignored it all and put equations up. Not that you need to see the equations, but the three-body problem, classic physics problem that says if you've got two celestial bodies, say two planets, a planet and moon, whatever, that are attracted by gravity, if you've just got two of them, there are analytical solutions to work out how they're going to move and how they're going to behave. It's a complicated problem, but it's a solvable problem. But you put a third body in there, and everything goes to pot. There are now no longer any analytical solutions. Instead, you've got a highly complex system with highly complex outcomes. And if this works, it looks something like this. It's a really complex, unpredictable, amazing system. So I put this up because actually the three-body problem is a really good metaphor for understanding both what Soylent Green gets wrong, but also how we can think in more sophisticated ways about the future of food. So going back to Soylent Green, this is at the heart of what that movie gets wrong. And I must keep on saying, this is just fiction, it's just entertainment, and I'm being a little bit naughty using it to talk about sort of what it gets wrong, but it's a really good starting point. So one of the problems that the filmmakers had with Soylent Green is they assumed we live in a very simple two-body world, where we have actions and we have outcomes. And again, this must be a British thing. My slides have also obviously got corrupted, but please forgive that. Anyway, so we live in this, in Soylent Green, the filmmakers thought, yeah, the world is easy. We look at what's happened in the past and we can project what happens in the future with outcomes. They made two categorical errors when they said that, though. First of all, they assumed that it's a one-way flow of information from past to future, which sounds right, but actually it's more complex than that because the way that we imagine the future actually affects the actions we take in the present. But the really big categorical error they made was that they forgot about people. As soon as you put people into the equation, you have got a very real three-body problem, where you've got actions, you've got consequences, and you've got people totally messing up the relationship between them. But actually, it gets more sophisticated than that. So in this three-body problem, and again, it's a metaphor, you've got causal relationships. So of course, the things that we did in the past affect the future. But then we've got what you might call inverse causal relationships. Because we have the ability to imagine different futures, we can take action in the present on those potential or those prospective futures, which means that those imagined futures actually affect the present. And then, of course, when you think about people, yes, you've got people who are bloody-minded, but also you've got people that are full of ingenuity, of creativity, of unpredictability, of innovation. When you put people into the equation, we have the opportunity to change things on the fly in deeply unpredictable ways. So this is, to me, a really interesting metaphor of how we can think about the future of food, which is very different to the movie. And of course, it's at this nexus where we really have this focus on the future of food as a complex system, as a dynamic system, and I would actually say as a system full of promise. So how can we extend this metaphor further? And I'm actually intrigued with this metaphor because there are a number of ways that we can apply it to the future of food, and I want to just look at three of those. Starting off with that basic formulation at the future of food. And this is a really interesting formulation of that metaphor because it looks at a really high level at the society we live in, the species we are, and where we live. So when you look at this three-body problem, and I ought to stop talking about problems because this is actually a three-body opportunity. We're looking at where we live. That's, of course, our environment, it's the ecosystems we're living in, but it's also our planet, even the solar system we're living in as we become a spacefaring species. You look at who we are. Of course, we've got our biological selves, we've got our evolutionary heritage, but you've also got our intelligence. You've got our social side. You've got our social constructs and our social environment. You've got our creativity. You've got our ability to solve problems. You've got our ability to collaborate as a species. This makes us a really intriguing, complex, messy, exciting organism. And then finally, you've got what we do. And of course, there are many things you could put in the what we do category, but I'm particularly interested in this formulation of humans as generators of knowledge and as a species that has the ability to intelligently apply that knowledge to changing the future. If you look at this formulation, you can begin to see, first of all, we've got a highly complex system there. You've got these three bodies that all depend on each other. But you've got a system that opens up possibilities. So here's the big question here. If you look at this metaphorical formulation of the three-body problem, how can we harness the possibilities within such a complex and fluid network. That, to me, is a critical question as we begin to look at the future of food, especially when we're looking at disruptive innovations and we're looking at reaching tipping points. But that's only one of three formulations I wanted to look at. The second one is looking at food as future. And here, again, there are three different interrelated and interconnected aspects. Of course, we're all familiar with food as nutrition, food as sustenance. It's what actually builds our bodies, keeps us healthy, keeps us going. But there are two other aspects of food which become really significant here. The second one here is food as identity, food that defines who we are individually, in communities, and culturally. If we don't remember how food defines us, we begin to miss a huge chunk of the complex system within which food occurs. And then finally, and increasingly, we need to think about food as medicine. Not just as nutrition, but food as something that can actually help us cure disease, manage chronic disease, actually improve our well-being. And as you begin to look at this, we have, again, a three-way complex system that challenges to ask, as we think about food as future, how can we better understand and make use of this relationship between food and, quite literally, being human? And then I have a third complex system here, and that is looking at food futures. So here, I'm really interested in this dynamic where we can begin to think about how we develop future food systems that work within this complexity, that work within these tipping points that we're seeing as a global society, that work within this ability to disrupt what hasn't worked in the past and build something new. And this is where we begin to look at three aspects which I think are really intriguing. First of all, diversity. I'm using diversity in a very specific way here. And I'm looking at it in terms of a way of expanding the range of innovative responses we have to complex challenges by drawing on different ways of understanding the world around us, different ways of knowing the world and knowing our relationship to it, different ways of perceiving the world we live in and how we apply knowledge. If we don't have that diversity of thought, that diversity of ideas, that diversity of perspectives, we reduce the range of opportunities we have as we build the future. Secondly, creativity. And creativity goes hand in hand with diversity. And this, to me, is our ability, our unique ability as humans to imagine futures that do not currently exist, but could exist, because that creativity drives us to do things that are different. And then the final point here is agility. And again, you've got this three-way complex system, this three-body system rather than problem now, that allows us to change the way things are. But if we're going to succeed here, we've got to have agility. And if you go back to this idea of us living in a complex system which is highly unpredictable, highly fluid, the only way we can actually ride the wave to the future is to be incredibly agile in terms of how we respond to new opportunities. So again, as you look at this formulation of the three-body problem, it begs the question, how can we build the thinking, the skills, and the systems to ensure future vibrant food systems? And that thinking and skills is incredibly important, because one thing that this particular system tells us is that old ways of thinking, old ways of training people how to do things, old skills will not equip us to build the future we desire. So how do we change that? How do we rise to the challenge of ensuring that people have the skills and the worldviews and the thoughts that are needed to achieve this? So those are three different formulations of the three-body problem when it comes to the future of food. And I want to finish off by just coming back to Soylent Green. And I want to start off by talking again about what I really dislike about this movie. So you finish off with that final formulation of the three-body problem, diversity, agility, and creativity, and you apply it to the movie. And you realize as you watch this movie that there's no creativity in the movie. For some reason, people seem to have had a creativity bypass when it comes to the way they live their lives and the way they solve problems. There's no diversity in the movie. In many, many ways, actually, if you look at it. But there's no diversity of thought, no diversity of ideas, no diversity of imagination in terms of what the future could be like. Instead, they seem to think that the solution to everything is just eating people. There's got to be a better way. And there is absolutely no agility. Everybody seems to be stuck in this rut of following the same pattern without working out how to get out of it. So the good news is we do not have to live the future like Soylent Green predicts. We actually have options that go way beyond that. The challenge, though, is that if we don't embrace these opportunities, if we don't go that way, we might just end up with a future like this. And I have no idea whether this video is going to work, but let's just see.
They're making our food out of people. Next thing, they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them. You gotta tell them.
Promise, Tiger. I promise. I'll tell the exchange.
You tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them. Soylent Green is people!
So, just in case anybody doesn't want that future, here's to a non-Soylent Green future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. It's very clear why ASU values you so much. Thanks so much.